So as we approach the second day of November, we are now entering into a critical period in the current government shutdown here in the United States. And what I'm going to be referring to is pertaining to the discontinuation of SNAP benefits that may affect up to 40 million Americans during this shutdown. Now, for those of you that are not aware of what SNAP benefits are, these are commonly referred to as food stamps, supplemental nutritional assistance that is provided by the federal government. We're going to be entering some pain if this deadlock that we are witnessing in Washington, D.C. does not get resolved. And honestly, I have my own reservations on, the whole issue behind the government shutdown. But what all Americans can get behind on is the fact that if Congress can't come to an immediate resolution to a compromise on what a sensible budget is in the government, then I think congressional members should be punished as well during this shutdown, because a lot of people may not be aware. While federal workers are not getting compensated during this shutdown, members in Congress, senators, are still getting compensated during this shutdown. Now, I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, or independent. If the government is shut down, these members in Congress, they shouldn't be getting a paycheck either. That's one way to immediately solve the issue that we are encountering during this government shutdown. Hit them in their pocketbooks. If they're not getting paid, I can tell you one thing's for sure: they're going to have more of an incentive to address the issues of this government shutdown right now. But aside from that, what I really wanted to talk about is, briefly touching on the SNAP benefits. So like I said before, these programs are going to affect over 40 million Americans. Americans that are struggling to get by, to afford to put food on the table. These are Americans that cannot afford to provide groceries for their families. This is a staggering statistic. The fact that almost a third of this country cannot provide basic necessities to their family is very troublesome in this country. But I think this is also just to serve as a reminder that this can be addressed individually speaking. So what I mean by that is that we as individuals need to take accountability in our own budgets. We need to start living within our means. And I know I keep preaching this in other videos that I've done in the past, but I think this is one of the most important concepts in personal finance, is the recognition to be self-accountable, to be accountable for your own actions. Not just in finance, but everything in life. Living within your means is probably one of the most important aspects of personal budgeting, personal finance. Not overstretching your expenses. Living on less than what you make can go a long way in not having to depend on any programs, such as SNAP, especially when these programs get furloughed and cut during government shutdowns. These are things that, if individuals take more accountability in their lives and more responsibility, they wouldn't have to worry about shutdowns. They wouldn't have to worry about putting food on the table. But this is just a reminder, to really look and being accountable for your own financial decisions. taking personal responsibility can go a long way in personal finance. So, try to avoid, unnecessary consumerism. It may be nice to drive a new car, to get the latest iPhone or the latest smart device. It's easy to fall in those traps because if other people are doing it, well, gosh, I want to be a part of that too. But, just taking self-responsibility and just having self-discipline to not fall into those traps will go a long way in personal finance. But those are my thoughts on the government shutdown. Catch you on the next video.